Join us today for an action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball. We continue our weekly tradition of should be Mondays, but it's Tuesday, Mock Draft Tuesday.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast brought to you by Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Matthew Ane, and here with my co-host, Don Martino. You can find us on all social media platforms, podcasting apps, and please, if you can, leave a 5-star rating or review on Apple or wherever you may listen. And please, if you're watching on the tubes, YouTube, hit the bell below. It'll subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, guys, we have finally kind of got it together and said, yo, we are going to be giving away more listener league spots. So what you're going to need to do is, one, subscribe to the subtext and become a member of the Diamond Club. And two, going to have to leave a review on Apple so that you can go ahead and screenshot that to us on subtext, and then that'll get you an entry in. We're going to be giving it a month from now on February 22nd, and winner will be announced right here live on the show. But with that being said, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started today. And I know it's been a lot, but I'm going to turn it over to Dom. We're going to be going over mock drafts. And Dom, give us a little insight into your mock draft.
Man, I'm just sorry. That was a little weird for me. So if you guys like long-term listeners, when we do this together, I normally do the intro and Matt normally, chimes on in. We usually do take that route. So Matt, that was so weird. We've never done it that way before. So here's to that. Here's to something new. But guys, with the mock drafting being available again, Yahoo's opened up. Draft Wizard is another tool that Matt and I like to use. We're doing today's episode a little bit differently than normal. We're going to review a mock draft that I did the other day that I kind of liked the results, and Matt and I were talking about this new technique. Right. So this strategy that I took into this mock draft, and by the way, this mock draft was a 5x5 head-to-head categories league, which is Matt and I specialty if you're new around here, and that's what our rankings are based around. And if you want our rankings, which are now officially tiered, join us on subtext. Don't miss out on that. But real quick, so I took a hitter heavy top strategy here with pitching seeming like coming into the year it was going to be thin. I actually think I'm making my living in like those, almost middle rounds with starting pitching. So I went bats first 4 picks here. Matt, so should I reveal how I started my draft? Are we going are we putting up the board per se here?
Boom.
Yeah, so if you are here watching on YouTube, this is the draft. I had the 8th pick, and I actually went with my first pick. I took Julio. I had the 5th pick. I'm sorry. I had the 5th pick. I took Julio Rodriguez. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see the draft board. I am this fifth line here. I took Julio. Julio obviously kind of, goes without saying, one of the best outfielders out there. Matt, as you're looking at this first round, do you see anything interesting there? Do you think Julio's a good pick at the number 5 spot? Would just love to hear you chime in.
So, based off my rankings, if we're looking at just like who I would take in that spot, quite honestly, like Julio's my number 2 outfielder and is one of the few players that could pretty much do it, Ronald Acuna did. So I think honestly, outside of Bobby Witt Jr., that is the best pick available. I actually find crazy that Corbin Carroll and Mookie Betts went ahead of him. I understand the hype around Corbin Carroll, but I'm still picking Julio all day. And
yeah,
Mookie
I have Julio, my 3rd outfielder over Corbin.
Yeah, and Mookie Betts, I love so much. Do not get me wrong, but even with that bolstering of a lineup, there's still going to be time before Ohtani starts really kicking into full center. So I really think a guy that can possibly contribute through the whole year would be Julio. And honestly, we'll have a better season than the other two aforementioned, Bobby Witt and Ronald Acuna. So I think that was the strongest pick on the board.
Yeah, so as we're looking at the draft board here, nothing crazy stands out to me in that first round. Jose Ramirez falling into the second round is probably the most notable thing. I can understand, why Matt Olson and Freddie sneak into that first round. Trey Turner going last pick is interesting. But then as we came back around, Bryce Harper's on the board. First base is a tough position to fill. I think Bryce Harper's coming back with a vengeance this year. As he finished the year super, super hot, he's, fully removed from the surgery. He's raring and ready to go. I think Bryce Harper's going to be amazing. And once again, just another great bat. I think Bryce Harper could potentially return first round value. I love filling up my first base position. Matt, what do you think about Bryce Harper there in a second?
Dude, that's my pick every time. If Bryce Harper's there, outside of literally, actually everybody that went in that round, it's Bryce Harper. Actually, if I'm in the second round, I don't even care if Jose Ramirez is there. I'm picking Bryce Harper.
Love me some Brycey Bryce. I
Yeah,
have as
man.
my third first baseman. Matt, what do you have him ranked?
I have him as my third or fourth. Let me double check real quick.
Yeah,
I
so Matt and I are pretty much in sync.
Third.
There we go. So we're in sync there. As the second round comes off, you got your usual suspects there. You got your Austin Rileys, your Corey Seager, who had a monster year last year, your Marcus Simeons, Lindor and Ozzy Albies also go in that second round. Pete Alonso falls into the next round. Your pitching starting to come off the board. You got your Zach Wheelers, your Glasnows, Gausman, Castillo, Kirby, all third round picks. My personal third round pick, and as Matt said, he's going with Bryce in the second round. I'm going with this guy in the third round of every mock draft I've done so far. Elly De La Cruz. I think pairing an Elly De La Cruz with the Julio and the Bryce Harper is pretty solid. We know Bryce Harper and Julio, who they are, what they do, what they contribute. And with Elly, at least I know I'm getting steals. That's how I approach Elly. At least I know I'm getting a ton of steals, probably 50, 60 steals. If he can give me 30 homers and a decent batting average and good runs and RBIs, that's just a plus. But Elly's a super, super big mystery bag, hoping for the big reward there. Matt, what are your thoughts on the third round and my pick of Elly?
So, I mean, granted, that's literally where he's pretty much going to go. I don't think where you picked him, he's going to drop any lower. Like, if you don't pick
Don't think
him,
so.
he's going where the dude that took Glass now went. Like, it's no brainer there. But personally, it's just a matter of where you want to do risk versus reward, right? So, the guy that's very similar to him that went right 2 picks later is Gunnar Henderson, and he's already done it.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and I think his second half was really indicative of what he's going to do in 2024. So it's just a matter of what do you want to pick? Do you want the high upside? Because I think Elly De La Cruz obviously could be a better player than Gunnar Henderson, in my opinion. I have it ranked that way in my rankings, but it's a matter of how you're constructing your team with the safety that you just picked. I think Elly De La Cruz is the right pick. But if you want more safety, especially in the earlier rounds, I'm a little bit more conservative. I might pick Gunnar Henderson, being that they literally have the same positional eligibility, but the difference is just, hey, Gunnar has done it for a full season, whereas Elly just is still yet to be proven.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, the main reason is just I know Elly's gonna give me potentially 50 plus steals. I don't think Gunnar Henderson hits that point in steals mark. I think Gunnar Henderson's going to be more of like a 20 steals guy. So I kind of know I wanted to shore up a big amount of steals there with the potential upside of Elly just being, a first round caliber player. But with that being said here, before we move on and discuss the rest of this draft, we have a quick little ad for you guys. And guys, we're here to talk to you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning You're burning rubber, not cash. With all parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, folks, and we're back here. So, I read you off that third round. I read you my pick. My team so far, I have Julio as my outfielder number one. I have Matt, chime in, brother.
You forgot some stuff, man.
Oh, I totally did. I was ripping and raring to hop back in. Let me do the due diligence here.
I got it.
Oh, you hop on in. Thank you, Matt. Save me here.
It's okay. Dom sometimes muddles about, as do I. So this thing happens here. But we got to tell you about this awesome thing Locked On's doing. Locked On has launched its first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here 24/7, covering top stories of the day from your local experts of Locked On. Plus, our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel. Also, guys, we mentioned at the top, Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast is now doing the Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Dive into this offseason with Dom and I as we provide you with tiered base rankings, over 100 outfielders and starting pitchers, prospects, insights, sleepers, breakout busts, and personalized draft grades. Have burning questions? We got the answers. As the season unfolds, rely on our dynamic content to get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up alerts, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of the fantasy league by joining the Dive Club on Subtext, where the path to victory begins. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience. All right, that is a lot, and I apologize, but we got to get all that juicy stuff because we are, as not only a show, but as a network, doing a bunch of awesome things, and we want to share that with you. So,
yeah, guys, totally want to hop on all that stuff, especially Subtext, our rankings. Matt and I are doing so much over there. Come and join us, join the club, the Diamond Club. It's an awesome time. But let's hop back on into the episode. Getting into that fourth round, I already have Julio as my outfielder number one. I have Bryce Harper at first, and I have Ellie, who can either play third or short. Then my next pick, Adolis Garcia falls. I just wanted to add more stability. I went risky with my last pick. I take Adolis. I know batting average isn't going to be crazy, but it's a lot of home runs, it's a lot of RBIs, a lot of runs, couple of steals in one of the best lineups in all of baseball. But real quick, the fifth round, you see some interesting names. You see the Royce Lewis, you see the CJ Abrams, you see the Nolan Jones, you see the Yamamoto. It's an interesting round. Matt, hop on in. What do you think about my pick, and what do you think about these names that are just moving up the draft boards?
So I keep finding myself drafting Adolis Garcia and not being able to pull the trigger on Nolan Jones.
It's an interesting one.
It is, and it's again a risky one. And you already went Ellie De La Cruz. Also, too, Nolan Jones wasn't available for that pick, so I'm just throwing that out there of my mindset. And quite honestly, the only other guy that I would have picked in this round probably would have been Royce Lewis. But again, you already went Ellie De La Cruz, and I don't want to have two risky picks back to back, especially so early. It's usually one of the other two. Like it's either Ellie De La Cruz or Royce Lewis for that as well, or Gunnar Henderson. Actually have them ranked 3 in a row. Now, I feel like you kind of did the right thing, but the other thing is I see in this next round after your pick, I probably would have went Mike Trout. That would have been my pick.
I have Adolis in my rankings, number 12 outfielder. I have Mike Trout in my rankings, number 13 outfielder. Have the one spot apart.
So rankings aside, right? Because I actually have them one apart too. I have Adolis one spot higher. Rankings aside,
I can't argue with you if you want to say Mike Trout there, because I can't argue one spot in rankings. At that point, it's just kind of preference.
Yeah, but here's rankings aside, right? And here's at least my thought process behind it, right? I look at Adolis Garcia and I'm like, man, he could be really good. He could do exactly what he did this season and stay healthy, and we're gonna have a really good season. It's gonna be a great draft pick. But man, if Mike Trout stays healthy, the sky is the limit, and it's 50 times better than what Adolis Garcia can. And I'd rather take the shot because I have stability with Bryce Harper and Julio Jones. Wow, I'm thinking football. Julio Rodriguez, and even with Ellie De La Cruz being a riskier pick, I still think that Mike Trout can bring some stability into the lineup because he will perform when healthy. He can do what Aaron Judge does when he's healthy and still be a massive contribution. Even in a roto league, you just need his stats. It doesn't matter when it comes because it's not head to head. And head to head, you just got to pray it's earlier in the season he's playing during playoffs. I'd rather have Trout than Adolis at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my
No,
my only critique to that.
I can't argue with you at all there. Just a little bit of preference on that one. So we'll go into that 5th round. This is where I finally start, tapping starting pitching. We'll just do a 5th, 6th because they kind of go hand in hand here. I went Blake Snell, I went Kodai Senga. Got me 2 elite starting pitchers in my opinion. I think Blake Snell's getting underrated these days. He's going a little bit lower in ADP. I don't even think he's in the top 10 pitchers as far as the early ADP goes. I have Blake Snell as my number 6 starting pitcher. Landing spot could adjust that ranking up or down. Now, probably not up, but could adjust down if the landing spot is bad. I have Kodai Senga as my number 13 starting pitcher. The whip is going to be high with this pitching staff, but the strikeouts are going to be high. The win potential is going to be at least decent. I know I just needed to get 2 guys that can give me innings and at least strikeouts at minimum.
I mean, I think that was your best options. I mean, to be honest, Max Fried would have been the only other guy that's kind of slightly on the bar, or better yet, actually, I didn't even see this till now. Freddie Peralta probably would have been my pick over Senga, just based off of who I have ranked higher and who has, I think, a higher ceiling at this point. Also in the wins category
Well,
too.
I think it came back the other way. I think Freddie wasn't there. It came back the other way. On that round.
You are right. Now I'm seeing the arrows. I apologize. Never mind.
No, you're fine. You're fine, sir.
So that is the best pick because, I mean, even though I see my boy Logan Webb, I still have Senga ranked higher. And I think Senga is going to do the job. And quite honestly, I think that staff is a 1-2 punch right there that can't be messed with. If you look at other people, the only other team I even see that can kind of give you a run for their money is the team that has Kirby and Zach Gallen. Everybody else is pretty much like
there's one team there that has the Cole Gaussman combo. I like the Burns Yamamoto. There's a couple there that aren't bad, but I think for waiting until the 5th round, if my pitching staff could be in the top 5 in a 12-man team like this, I'll take it.
Nah, I mean, absolutely. Now, this strategy is good for now until ADP, changes. But right now, if you're drafting, like, yo, this is stellar. Like, both of us have Blake Snell in our top 5 for starting pitcher at the position, and Senga is both our 13th ranked pitcher. So, like, this is incredible value. Yes, you could double up and go, but look at our hitters versus the other team's hitters that went earlier.
It's night and day.
Yeah, and quite honestly, our 2 pitchers are going to compete against their 2 pitchers on almost the same level, and yet we're going to beat the living hell out of them come every hitting category. So I think honestly, this team construction right now is phenomenal. This is going to be something that we're going to be a staple on until ADP adjusts to this strategy.
Yeah, guys, this is what you need to go out there with right now. I like that. There's even been times where I've gone 5 bats and still loved my pitching staff. But we'll get back into this. That is 6 rounds there. We're looking at Julio and Adolis as my outfielders, Bryce Harper as my first baseman. Elly De La Cruz is going to wind up playing third base because of my next pick in the 7th round. I take O'Neal Cruz. Now, O'Neal Cruz and Elly De La Cruz, they're both, it's risk, right? It's risk. So you'll kind of see how I play out the rest of this team and build that security in there. But honestly, I think O'Neal Cruz is going to be very, very good. He's coming off an injury. He has something to prove. They waited for him to get healthy. They truly, truly waited for this man to get healthy. I think it's a solid pick. You look at that round. Yeah, Evan Carter's in there. I'm a big Evan Carter guy, but you're looking at like a Gleyber Torres, a Xander Bogaerts, a Yelich. I do love me some Josh Lowe as well, but I think O'Neal Cruz is a strong pick there. I love the upside. And as I said, you'll see the rest of my team and kind of how I play the safety into it after taking another a volatile player there.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the guys that went in that round, and you have 2 outfielders. You have your third baseman essentially and your first baseman. Shortstop is that I think was the way to go there. I love O'Neal Cruz, and I don't think it's risky at all. We saw a little glimpse of it at the beginning of the season before he, decided not to slide like a normal human being. And based off of the talent that went in that round going in that direction, you didn't really miss out on anybody but Evan Carter. And I think O'Neal Cruz has the possibility finish higher than Evan Carter
Yeah,
anyway.
he does. He's O'Neal Cruz can be almost it can be pretty much as good as Ellie De La Cruz, maybe not as many steals.
Yeah, and quite honestly, too, I'm looking at the next round before you make your next pick, and there's nobody that really blows me away either in terms of a better bat than what you did. So quite honestly, like right now, your team strengths are, obviously home runs. You have stolen bases in the bag between Julio, Ellie, and now O'Neal Cruz, and Adolis could possibly
The
chip in
batting
quite a few.
average is where you're starting to like say, okay, that's where we can improve if we want to
S-
go for a fully
Sort of,
grown.
because I mean, Ellie he handled his own in the minors, so it could come back. Bryce Harper,
Yeah,
Julio definitely are, and O'Neal Cruz, I think could hit for
he,
average. I
he
think it hit
could. I mean,
275.
he could in theory, but then again, I wouldn't be shocked if Ellie hit 235, if O'Neal Cruz hit 235, if Adolis hit 255, and then you're kind of like, okay. But you guys will see as
Mhm.
we keep things pushing, which we're gonna try and do.
Yep.
Yeah. So hop on Matt. Hop on,
Uh,
brother.
Before we move on, we have one last ad break for you.
All right, guys. So we're gonna try and bang through the rest of this. We're coming into round 8. I gotta fill out this pitching staff at this point. Jesus Luzardo, a high upside pitcher. I think this is a guy that's able to suppress runs over there in Miami. He's still fairly young. I have him as my 19th starting pitcher, and to get him in round 8, I think was an absolute bargain. And I love that, Matt. I think you feel the same on Jesus Luzardo as I do.
Yeah, there's not even a question for that. I think it was a solid pick.
Yeah, so let's move into the next half of this draft board here, guys. And that's where I said, you know what? I'm actually not going to tap pitching because one of my favorite picks at second base this year is Bryson Stott. I have Bryson Stott as my 7th second baseman. It was a high end prospect, had a very strong breakout year last year. I think we see more of the same this year. I think the steals are legit. There's a tiny little bit of power. The RBI should be solid. He bats lower in that lineup, and I think the batting average upside is, as shown last year, is legit.
I like Stott. He fixes the batting average problem. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't think he'd be my pick this early, or
That's fair.
just based off of who I'd probably draft a little bit later. But I'm looking at it, and it's not a bad one. It definitely fills your needs. But I think honestly, I would have filled out my last outfield slot, and it would have been Nick Castellanos. Nick
That's
Castellanos.
fair.
Nick Castellanos can hit for like 275, and can bump off the batting average just a tad, but also contribute in both runs and ribbies and home runs. And I think there's more upside with him than Bryson Stott. Yes, same teammate, but honestly, where Cassie's going to have the opportunity in the lineup versus Bryson Stott is going to be more valuable coming from Castellanos. So that's just really it. But I mean, I'm not mad at your pick. It just wouldn't be mine.
No, that's fair. I just think outfield, there's still a little bit more depth there. It's not like a crazy amount of depth, but second base, really starts to thin out. You see 3 second basemen go in that round alone, and I'm big on Bryson Stott this year. So then my next pick, I felt like I had to get myself into the closer market. I take Paul Sewald. Arizona Diamondbacks made it to the World Series last year. I think they're going to be only better this year. That pick is kind of self-explanatory there. You kind of got to tap that closer market at some point. Where do I have Paul Sewald ranked again? I have Paul Sewald ranked as my number 12 closer. So I still get myself a closer that I consider a number 1 closer in a 12-man league. So then gonna move right into that next pick as we keep things moving here. A risky pitcher. My pitchers have been pretty, not like crazy risky, but they've been guys that we kind of know what they do. Cole Reagans is a total scratch off, total lottery card. After the trade last year, he went over to the Royals and just looked absolutely fantastic. I think we see more of the same. Those changes are legit. The velocity is legit. They've worked with him. You can actually see the changes. It's not that he just is on a hot streak. The guy went from throwing mid-90s to over, 100. Worked on the breaking stuff too. I think Cole Reagans is going to be dominant, and I have him as my number 4 starting pitcher, which I think is, pretty strong.
Like, okay, I like what you did, but I would make 2 different picks if I'm just being honest.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
So over Seawald, it would have been Munoz for me. I think
Okay.
the save potential I think is going to be a little bit more with Seattle versus Arizona, even though Arizona could possibly in closer games. But at the same time, what they did going leading into the World Series shows otherwise for me. So I think Munoz, I think is going to be better. I have him as like my number 7th closer. And then what's up?
No, I was gonna say I actually do have Munoz higher as well. I just didn't. I have Munoz at 10. I have Seawold at 12. I don't know why I made that choice. Sometimes when you're on the clock, when you have guys 2 spots apart, it's not like the end of the world. But I can't argue with you there, as I have Munoz higher myself.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's not a bad pick. I mean, I still think you walked away with a great closer. Just my preference at that point. And then for your your next pick, I just personally, instead of Riggins, being that
I already know who you're gonna say. Can I
yes,
say it?
yeah, go ahead.
You're gonna say Bybee.
Yes, 100%.
I
And
know it. I know it.
it's always Bybee over him. It's also just I'll keep saying I said it last week during the mock draft. Why I always will stick with Bybee. Bybee is showing a consistent path of growth as a young pitcher, whereas Cole Reagans
Oh, yeah.
hasn't been able to do it until he got traded and then had a splash. Cole Reagans has the most volatile finish. He could be a super bust or he could be a consistent breakout that this is a value. That's really just what it is. But honestly, if I'm scratching lottery tickets and the way you've constructed your rotation, Bybee is a better fit right here than it is. That's like you seriously like, yo, Reagan's flops. You're gonna have a bad time.
Well,
your pizza, your French fry is still a pizza.
That's what. That's what. First of all, I love the reference. I love the South Park reference. That was fantastic. But that's why I did what I did with my next pick, which was let's move right on into it. I took Sonny Gray as my 5th starting pitcher, right? Cole Reagans, totally mystery bag. I'll battle your South Park reference with a Family Guy reference. With Cole Reagans, I'm totally gonna mess this reference up. With Cole Reagans, it's the boat reference. It could be do you want a boat or do you want the mystery bag? So that's kind of why I wound up taking Sonny Gray with my next pick. I'll take the boat. I'll take Sonny Gray with I got the mystery bag and the boat pretty much. The Sonny Gray we know we're gonna get. He's gonna be very consistent. The ERA is going to be good. He's gonna be around a K per 9. The whip is gonna be good. He's done it, for 3-4 years in a row at this point. So I kind of get my top 5 starting pitchers, which I really love. To recap my rotation, it is Blake Snell, Kodai Senga, Jesus Luzardo, Cole Reagans, and Sonny Gray. Then to move right into the next round, let's keep things pushing as we're running short on time. I grabbed Teoscar Hernandez, going over to the Dodgers. I have Teoscar as a top 20 outfielder, and to get him as my 3rd outfielder, I think I walked away with an absolute steal there. Matt, your thoughts on those last 2 picks?
So Sonny Gray, great pick, really did stabilize your rotation, like you said. So I have no complaints because of how you constructed that. Great job there, but I shouldn't expect anything less. And honestly, I like round 13 too. I like how you picked Teoscar. Nice fit into your 3rd outfielder. Obviously, my opinion of where I would have picked that outfielder, and I still would have lost out because the guy I would have picked went in the round before I would have even got to me. So, I'm talking about Edward Julian. But the only thing I probably would have did over was I would have took a little bit more upside with my 3rd outfielder, and that would have been Jackson Churio. I like the young blood. I like the upside.
I'll just tell you this is with the O'Neal Cruz and the Ellie De La Cruz, I kind of just needed somebody that like, okay, let me just start to put that more sure things into my lineup at that point.
I hear you, and I also like the upside of Teoscar. Don't get me wrong, but like, there's a few factors that kind of turn me off a little bit. New year, new team. How he started off last season, and just what exactly are we going to get for him? Now, I still think he's going to be fantastic. There's no way he can't contribute, but that batting average that you need to build upon on this lineup could be the same thing that Jackson Churio could do. And I think Jackson Churio, with all his upside of not only power but speed, would give you the complete leg up. So that's where I just feel like would have been the better fit. But I'm not mad at the Teoscar Hernandez pick.
Yeah, I just like Teoscar. I think he's going to be solid this year, but let's keep things pushing as we wrap this up. Then I grab another starting pitcher and Bailey Ober as my 6th starting pitcher. I love Bailey Ober. I've talked about him so much on this podcast. No need to go into details. Just that he's being severely underrated. Draft Bailey Ober everywhere this year. Then round 15, I grabbed Marcell Ozuna. Marcell Ozuna just being severely undervalued. I don't understand. A guy hit 40 home runs last year, had monster RBI and runs total. Batting average was absolutely fantastic. Then in the 16th, I went Jose Leclerc to get my 2nd closer. And guys, we'll post the rest of this team on Subtext. Join us on Subtext. We'll post the rest of this team. That's a lineup where you go really hitting heavy and you just kind of nag that starting pitching lineup in the middle. Matt, final thoughts before we wrap up.
I think the team as a whole was fantastic. The way you constructed it was perfect. But, obviously I have my difference. We have different opinions, but
Yeah, of course.
ultimately I wouldn't want to face this team in my fantasy leagues. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. We really are doing the flip here. And make sure to check out Locked On's 24/7 streaming channel. Peace.